Good morning, everybody. It's June 12th, 2026. Something massive being dropped in Isfahan, Iran, just yesterday. Underground missile storage facilities with massive ballistic missile stockpiles going bye-bye from a bunker buster bomb. That's a GBU-72, typically dropped from an F-15E. So today we're going to break down that operation. How that GBU-72 works. Why it was the one that was called in from the bullpen, Bring in the GBU-72, a 5,000-pound bunker buster bomb. That's the reports I'm finding online. And this footage right here is showing a massive explosion with secondary explosions. And a lot of times when a weapon storage facility is hit, especially when it's underground, where all that pressure kind of gets blocked up, this is the greatest relief of all time. Just send in the GBU-72 if you feel a little bit backed up with your ballistic missiles, Iran. And that's exactly what this thing is doing. This is a mountain south of Isfahan, and it lit up from the inside. This footage is now circulating all around the internet. And the mountain answered back. Basically, that chain reaction blast just keeps erupting long after the weapon has done what it does, with that 5,000-pound hardened penetrator going in and doing what it does, hunting Iran's ballistic missile arsenal at this point. But Tehran is obviously going to scream very loud, and here's what Tehran is saying back. Even though President Trump just posted yesterday on Truth Social that it looks like a deal is imminent to end the war, Tehran is saying wrong strategies and impulsive decisions will reset the entire board for the worse, and you will see a different Iran. It's like you will see a different General Salami. This time General Salami will have Colonel Mustard and Captain Caper with him, and they will be a very delicious addition to our arsenal, except for our ballistic missiles. We really don't have many of those left. But the IRGC Navy also declared that the Strait of Hormuz is closed to all vessels again, and any passage would be targeted. And then, hours after saying that, Iran fired on a tanker in the dark. 2 Iranian attack drones went into the water. The U.S. Navy and the U.S. Air Force working together made sure that these drones had no ability to hit the tanker, and the tanker kept sailing, with hundreds of ships now making the transit through safe corridors in the Strait of Hormuz. Even though Iran doesn't want to admit that, the U.S. blockade is in full force. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth confirming that, CENTCOM confirming that. With these tankers making that journey and keeping the flow of commerce going in the Strait of Hormuz, even though Iran doesn't want the rest of the world to think that, Iran's like, yeah, we're definitely winning. While they have fast attack craft and drones sitting at the bottom of the ocean. Reminds me of that meme of Foreign Minister Araghchi from Iran sitting at the bottom of the ocean with his little fast attack boats, and he's like, we haven't even begun yet. You haven't even seen anything yet. But President Trump just posted this on Truth Social a few hours ago. He said, the terms that Iran leaked out to the fake news have nothing to do with the terms that were agreed to in writing. What they said, including their weak and pathetic statement on having a deal, bears no relation to the truth. Very dishonorable people to deal with. With them, there is no such thing as dealing in good faith. Amazing. Also, they're totally rebuffed. Drone attack last night against Indian ships leaving the Hormuz Strait is totally unacceptable. They better get their act together and fast. President Donald J. Trump. So obviously there are going to be aspects of the corporate media that are going to try to smear this administration. And honestly, smear the military. We've seen them do that for the last few months. But it's clear to me, with the step up from CENTCOM and the blockade striking down these Iranian drones, that the U.S. military is no longer allowing Iran to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. And I know there are aspects of the corporate media that will never mention that, but that's why we have these little chats, isn't it? But yesterday, on the table after the bunker buster strikes, the bunker buster strikes went in and dealt that blow to the Iranian ballistic missile program. And then 5 hours later, President Trump said the strikes were canceled and a deal was approved at the highest level of Iranian leadership, and it would be signed this weekend. And then aspects of the Iranian leadership said that nothing is signed, but they have so many fractures in their leadership at this point. There are going to be fractures that disagree. They're probably like, wait, did you make a deal with Trump? Wait, did you sign a deal with Trump? And they're like, no, I didn't sign any deal. Meanwhile, they're all trying to sign deals to get a way out of this conflict so that they actually survive. Now let's pop to Isfahan, Iran, and let's look and try to find what area could have been struck with that GBU-72 bunker buster bomb. Hey everybody, welcome to the imagery review section. We'll be looking at some of the bunkers that could have been targeted by that GBU-72. So let's just dive right in. I'm here in beautiful Arizona. Shout out to all those watching from Arizona. Really appreciate you guys. Arizona is amazing. Loving the sunshine. All right. So here we are looking at these different bunkers. You can see just how buried they are, how deep they are into some of these mountains. I'll give you guys a little zoom out so I can show you where we are. So as we zoom out, This is Isfahan, Iran, one of the areas that has been hit by GBU-57 bunker buster bombs, and now reports are saying the GBU-72 was used just a day ago. The Persian Gulf is down here. That gives you guys an idea of where we're at. And as we zoom in, check out what I found with the help of Derek. Derek was a huge help, our imagery guy helping us find this. But this is a missile city, an underground missile city on the outskirts of Isfahan. So let's just have a little peek here and show you guys kind of what the tactics and strategies are. You can see Missile City under construction. We're kind of seeing how they're going to build the different warehouses, how they're going to build the different areas to house these ballistic missiles deep inside the mountain. Missile City under construction, rebuilding different missile cities. So was this what was hit? Basically building a little pool inside their new missile city. Here, Iran, hold this GBU-72. Hold this, my dude. And let's build you a little pool inside your missile city. Bunker entrance right here. Let's just go ahead and have a look at what this would look like. Yeah, we're just out hiking in Isfahan and we just happened to stumble upon this bunker entrance. But you can see how hard it is at the top. And this is what Iran focuses on. Blending in these missile bunkers in austere locations where you wouldn't expect to find them. But that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to reconstitute as many of these bunkers as possible and also build fake ones. They're going to build fake ones as well to try to get the US to waste those expensive GBU-72 bunker buster bombs. So again, intel is huge. Intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. But seeing all the different entrances just shows you they want multiple options. Getting those missiles deep into the mountain, wheeling them out, launching them, and then getting them back inside, deep inside the mountain, is their goal. That's their whole focus, multiple points of exit. Again, we're seeing the strategies of Iran being picked apart in real time, and the GBU-72 happens to be the bouncer at the biggest explosion party on Earth over the last few days. Stay for the global roundup section. We're going to cover a couple of things you're going to want to hear. That'll be 3/4 of the way through the video. Because remember, we've got to cover some other things besides Iran, so we stay updated on what's going on around the world. So we kind of have the biggest peace agreement statements of the war right now, but there are factions inside Iran saying that nothing was signed. So it's kind of like Trump canceled the next strike package 5 hours after announcing it, and Iran's air defense crews are like, wait, we can actually sleep tonight? The people in this war that aren't getting any sleep at all. How did the U.S. crack into that mountain? Let's talk about that strike and whether we'll see more of that or not, depending on if a deal is made. Here is the tactical problem that no one anywhere else is talking about. Iran's missile war reserves are all around Isfahan, and it doesn't sit on a ramp outside waiting to be hit by a regular JDAM. It sits inside, likely the Safa mountain complex. The heart of Iran's largest missile assembly and production ecosystem lives right there in that area where we saw the GBU-72 hit. Under rock and reinforced concrete, engineered across 4 decades, specifically to try to survive everything that a conventional weapons campaign would throw at it. But enter the GBU-72, one of the most capable penetrator bombs. This is relatively new in the US military inventory. And here's one of the most amazing features of this thing. Weapon hearing is a big part of being a fighter pilot and a weapons systems officer in the F-15E, where you have to know exactly how these bombs work. The thing I love about the GBU-72 is versatility. You can make it a GPS-only bomb. In your jet, you can program pre-planned coordinates so that you can roll out, hit that pickle button, that's that big red button that senses the bomb release, and have that thing fly off as a GPS weapon. Or you can have the WSO, the weapon systems officer in the back, actually lay it in and update the GPS coordinates in real time. So if the laser loses track, if something happens with the sniper pod, or you need to maneuver aggressively because of a surface-to-air missile, it just guides to the last known point of where that laser was and uses that as its new GPS coordinates. This is a Gucci weapon on every level if I've ever seen one. So we know that the complexes in this area have eaten close to 20 separate bunker buster strikes from B-2s, B-52s, other F-15E strikes across this war. But there are reports that missiles have still been rising out of those same mountains the next morning, even after these strikes. Why is that happening? Well, their missile complexes are buried extremely deep. We see the entrances we just looked at earlier. But then these things go way deep into the mountains, where they actually store these missiles and then pull them out. So you need something even deeper to go in. And that's why the GBU-72 is there. And when it comes to warfare, you have to be able to adapt and assess as the enemy adapts. The enemy always adapts. So over the last few days, we've seen Night 1 striking more radars and communication sites. Night 2 moved into communications and command and control, the nervous system, and then the ballistic missile production facility. So what we're probably seeing is the Pentagon is realizing that, yeah, Iran is going to come to the table at some point. Sounds like there's the biggest chance right now of a deal being done. But at some point, little factions inside of Iran could decide, no, we want to be spicy. We want to spice things up and launch more ballistic missiles. So if we strike their ballistic missiles any chance we get with these GBU-72 advanced penetrator weapons, the 5,000-pound bombs, precision-guided deep burial defeat weapons designed for exactly one job, punch through that rock and concrete, survive the trip all the way through, and detonate where the enemy thought physics protected them. There's a delayed fuse that survives all the way through the concrete, and then it detonates. We know this thing made its combat debut early on during Operation Epic Fury, but now it's being unleashed again. It was originally dropped along the coast around the Strait of Hormuz to take down underground storage facilities, likely for drones, ballistic missiles, and anti-ship missiles they're hiding under the ground along the coastline. Perfect for that, and now it's perfect for this strike that we just saw yesterday as well. From a Strike Eagle, from the F-15E, the doctrine basically writes itself. The F-15E is a GBU-72 monster, a behemoth for delivering this platform. And the ability of it to be so versatile, because you can frag a 2-ship of Strike Eagles that are already right there in the theater. They don't need to fly a B-1 all the way from Diego Garcia to get bunker busters on target. That's the versatility of the F-15E being able to carry that 5,000-pound bomb. It's just a 30, 45 minute to 1 hour flight. It gets there, it gets bombs on target, and it takes care of those ballistic missile facilities just like that. Basically, the Strike Eagle with the GBU-72 goes in and out, satisfies in all the right spots, especially those deep spots, and gets out before anybody knew you were there. I've weaponeered this weapon multiple times, and I've seen the damage that it can do. The software basically shows you the way this bomb goes in and then detonates in exactly the right spot. It's kind of like Iran spent 40 years building a city under a mountain, and the GBU-72 just helped them make a large pool around the outside. So what Iran is still bringing to the fight is something that's relatively important. Know your enemy, know yourself. We all know our boy Sun Tzu. That guy has crushed it for thousands of years. But Iran is still launching those ballistic missiles, so they have to be struck. Because remember, that's their whole strategy at this point. Iran wants to launch ballistic missiles, cause as much pain as possible, and they think that's going to get them a better deal. And that brings us to the global roundup, my friends. You guys got to hear this. The Senate Armed Services Committee greenlit a bill for a Robotics and Autonomous Systems Combatant Command. That means a full 4-star command, same rank tier as the CENTCOM commander, dedicated to drones, autonomous weapons, and all the different things we're seeing play out on the battlefield right now. That means AI and these advanced weapons are going to become even more prominent on the battlefield. I mean, we just saw a drone boat rescue that Apache crew. So I think more and more things like that are going to happen. You made it to the 4D chess strategic analysis section, my friends. So what does Iran actually want? Well, at this point, they want to get as much money as they possibly can to rebuild any infrastructure that has been damaged. They want to rebuild all these bunkers. They want to keep ballistic missile stockpile numbers out of any agreement. That's their whole goal. Because Iran sees the red line in the sand, like the U.S. really wants that uranium, so whether they give it up or not, whether they give all of it up or not, that remains to be seen. But at this point, they want the money to rebuild their ballistic missile stockpile. Meanwhile, the U.S. is dropping the GBU-72 and eliminating the ballistic missile stockpile. Because remember, if Iran has 10,000, 15,000 ballistic missiles, they can basically protect everything that they have. That includes a nuclear program, it includes a drone program, and potentially gives them the ability to have a stranglehold on the Strait of Hormuz, which is slowly being unlocked day by day by day, with hundreds of ships now transiting the Strait of Hormuz. And that really scares Iran. So these ballistic missiles are something they think will keep their fiefdom intact. What do you think happens from here? Let me know in the comments below. Would love to hear your thoughts. Do you think more GBU-72s are going to need to be unleashed? Or do you think we'll actually get a deal here in the next few days? Go ahead and follow me on Pepperbox. I'm posting things over there that you can't find anywhere else, including actual strike footage and reactions. And I'm posting on X and Instagram pretty much every day. Follow me there. I'll see you in the next video. And I could see like an announcement from the Strait of Hormuz Authority that Iran wants to establish. They're like, "Good evening, and thank you for transiting IRGC-controlled waterways in your vessel. The Strait of Hormuz is now closed to all vessels, except vessels that we say can pass through. We're asking you to remain calm and pretend that you can't see any American destroyers in the area. And remember, when we launch drones, we know they're going to be shot down. We just want to launch them for the explosion and the fireworks, because we care about your experience. Thanks for riding Strait of Hormuz cruise lines."